Hey everyone, welcome back to 996 Howl. This video we look at forwards, centermen, wingers available in free agency. This is where all the big game hunting begins and transpires. The big names this season are Stamkos, Reinhart, who else we got? Some others as well, Marchessault, some may say Guentzel as well. Just had a great playoff with Carolina. You'll notice those names aren't on this board. I decided not to go with those types of players. I didn't articulate the reason why last video, why the Utah team shouldn't go after, big names in free agency, offering a contract upwards of over $8 million. This video, I can articulate it better. The team's a bit too raw, and you don't want to jump the gun. Utah's inheriting a team just about to come out the rebuild. I believe the expectations this upcoming season should be playing meaningful games in March. They failed at that last season, pretty much in that 14-game winning streak in late January, February. You don't want to just rush to rebuild. You don't want to inject something too quickly that's not as natural. You want a natural progression and development. Guenther and Cooley have only played 40 games together. Let's see where we're at a full season with them together. You don't want to make mistakes like other teams have. Gaudreau to Columbus. That did not work out. Not to say that, Reinhart and Guentzel are like Gaudreau, but you never know what might happen. You don't want to make terrible mistakes like Ottawa, where you trade first-round picks when you're not even competing for the playoffs. They did that twice in the DeBrincat and Chychrun trades, which now both of those players will be gone sooner rather than later. DeBrincat already gone. Chychrun, there's rumors that he's leaving. Thankfully, the Coyotes were on the receiving end of that mistake. What about Toronto going after John Tavares in free agency when, Marner, Nylander, Matthews were on their entry-level contracts? Sort of caused this, wave of them wanting the same money as Tavares since they thought they were better players than him, which was true. It just causes a lot of issues, and you don't want to jump the gun and inject a a goal scorer with such offensive prowess into a rebuilding team, and maybe guys like Cooley, Guenther, maybe Michelli, they go down in the lineup and it messes with their development. So take your time. There's a couple seasons here where we don't need a rush to be, a conference final playoff team. That was a long preamble. So let's get into it. These are my players I would love Utah to acquire. We'll start with my favorite one, Chandler Stevenson. 16 goals, 35 assists, 51 points for the Vegas Golden Knights. He's currently getting $2.75 million at 30 years old. He's probably looking for his long 5-year contract to end his season. He won the cup with the Vegas Golden Knights. Just a tremendous player, versatile player, reliable centerman. He's great on the faceoffs. He had a 52% faceoff percentage last season. The year before that, it was 58%. Utah is one of the bottom of the league teams in faceoffs. It's been that way since Andre Tourney took over about 3 years ago. They need to fix their faceoffs, whether it's getting guys in free agency, making a trade for players that are good at playoffs, or something. They just need players who are good at faceoffs to teach our other centermen like Cooley, McBain, Hayden, Kerfoot, Bukestad, this is the right way to do face-offs. Like I said, he won the cup with Vegas. He could go up in your lineup, first line with Keller and Schmaltz, or he could be a nice depth piece. He could be a second-line centerman. He can play wherever you want. He played with Eichel. He played with Carlson, Marchessault, Stone. He can play wherever you want, and there's always going to be injuries. And so just a reliable centerman that knows how to win, competes hard every night. And he's not too expensive. You might look at, for probably $5 million, like a 5x5, I'd be great with for Chandler Stevenson. Then we go to Jake DeBrusk, 40 points with the Boston Bruins. A bit expensive, $4 million, 28 years old. Sure, you're probably looking at $5.5 to $6 million here, but I love this guy. This guy's a playoff performer. He had 11 points in 13 games played this past playoffs, and then last season he had 6 points in 7 games played. Whenever I watch the Bruins in the playoffs, this guy's a gamer, competes hard. I also love the way Vegas and Boston play. That's a great sort of culture to bring into Utah. Like, these guys don't take nights off. They compete hard. And that's, what this Utah team's sort of missing, just that competitiveness deep in their lineup. They also don't have a fourth line, basically, due to the injuries last season. Players playing too high up in the lineup, like Bukestad and Kerfoot, and also O'Brien playing almost the full season. You want to fix that fourth line with some energy and competitiveness that these players will bring. I'm not saying DeBrusk is a fourth line. I don't know why my mind went there. DeBrusk is like he could fit in well on the second line. Last season, to end the season, we had a Cooley, Guenther, Krause line. So maybe DeBrusk fills in Krause's spot. Krause could go down to third line. And then, Josh Doan fills in the fourth line, or you have one of these guys fill in the fourth line. But DeBrusk is a scorer, a great winger, competitor, and I'd love for him to be on the team. Then we go to a bit of a risk here in Sean Monahan from Winnipeg. He split time between Montreal and Winnipeg. 26 goals. I saw this. I was like, wow, this guy really turned his career around. He was riddled, absolutely riddled with injuries in the middle of his contract, where Calgary had to trade him with the first-round pick to Montreal to offload this massive cap hit of about $6.5 million. 29 years old. He's a bit of a risk because of his injury history, but he played 83 games last season, the only player to play one game above the standard 82 games played. Due to the trade, he probably won't get a raise, most likely won't get a raise due to that injury history. So maybe you could grab him for some value, maybe offer him like $4 million for 3 years, maybe $3 million for 3 years. His faceoff percentage, again, 55%, 26 goal scorer, could be a nice depth centerman for Utah. Maybe play him in the third line, see how he does with Keller and Schmaltz. Maybe that could move Hayden down in the lineup. You can never go wrong with more centermen, and never go wrong with players who know how to win faceoffs, like I've already mentioned, to teach our current center depth how to win faceoffs. And go to Teddy Bluger, not as sexy as some of the other free agents I had here that I've already talked about. $1.9 million. He's 30 years old. He's only had about 4 or 5 NHL seasons under his belt. He's a stereotypical fourth line energy guy, can maybe kill faceoffs, but he brings that energy deep in your lineup. Apparently has great speed. He gets a lot of breakaways due to his speed, some offensive upside, but you're not looking to him for offense. You're just looking for that energy, competitive, night in and night out type of Energizer Bunny type player. Maybe you could offer him, $1.5, $2 million by 3 years, and just you have a nice energy forward deep in your lineup, along with other energy forwards. You got Amadio, Joshua, and Martinuk. Amadio coming from the Vegas Golden Knights. He was a waiver bouncer like 3 seasons ago, and then found his home in Vegas. He's won a cup with Vegas as well. Like I've already mentioned, I love how Vegas plays. Amadio plays with that energy. A bit of a physical type of guy as well, but not a huge hitter like a player like Dakota Joshua. He's making $750K, so he's cheap. That's sort of value. Offer him $1.5 million for 3 years, and he could fill, your depth down in the lineup, along with Joshua, who had a great playoffs for Vancouver. He had 8 points in 13 games played. He was originally drafted by St. Louis, where Bill Armstrong spent some time before being the general manager for the Coyotes, and now Utah. I mean, look at these numbers: 18 goals, 14 assists, 32 points, only making $825K, 28 years old. He's going to break out, and a cap-strapped Vancouver team might sign some other guys over Joshua. That'd be a great opportunity to come in, take him, offer him $3 million by 3 years. It won't hurt you at all, won't handcuff you. It won't, affect the cap when you have to re-sign like guys like Guenther, Cooley, Michelli. Maybe you want to give Schmaltz another contract. So There's also another reason why I wouldn't go with guys like Reinhart, Stamkos, Guentzel. Like, if you offer guys $8 million plus, some of them might want $10 million. What are you going to do when you have to re-sign Guenther and Cooley and they outperform that free agent? Now you got a bar. You just set the bar at $10 million, and Guenther and Cooley are going to want that money. So you got to be careful. Plan ahead, which Bill Armstrong and company I trust will do. And they've repeatedly said that they're going to still be patient, you know, take a natural progression during this rebuild. Talked about Joshua. Loved him in the playoffs. Played really good with Connor Garland for Vancouver. And then Martinook, can you believe it that he's 31 years old? He used to play for the Coyotes before having a very long stint in Carolina. Like Vancouver, Carolina is a bit cap-strapped. They got a lot of free agents to sign, and they might overlook a guy like Martinook, even though he's a great locker room guy, an alternate captain for the team. If he wants money, I mean, he's nearing the end of his career, still brings that energy, had that game-saving or goal-saving block with his stick right on the goal line, you know, in that playoff game that they lost. But 14 goals, 18 assists, 32 points, great for a depth guy. I would offer him $2.5 million by 4 years. Just have him on your fourth line. Just bring that competitiveness night in and night out. Bring that energy. Great locker room guy. Maybe has some history with some of the Utah players. Most likely Krause. They played together in that last Dave Tippett year. Keller barely came in. I think Keller only played 3 games that season. But fans, Coyotes fans who are transitioning to Utah will love Martinook. He's a veteran now, if you can believe it, at 31 years old, and love to have him deep in your lineup. Would rather have him play 82 games a season than a guy like Liam O'Brien. So that's it. Cap stuff, they theoretically could spend $40 million to reach the cap ceiling. I hope they don't do that, but none of these players on this board should really handcuff the future of the team and should make them a better team immediately if you inject these guys into the forward group that already exists. And you never know, there could be trades, and there will most likely be trades to acquire better forwards. It's not always that you only could get players in free agency. There's so many options Bill Armstrong can use with the amount of draft picks they have. And I'm not going to do a goalie free agency video because I'm pretty happy going forward into the season with Vejmelka and Ingram. If Vejmelka starts to show some rust again and plays like he's Swiss cheese, that's an in-season trade you can do, a trade deadline trade you can do. It's not so necessary to go out and grab a starting goalie when you already have like 2 okay starting goalies and see how Ingram develops into a starter. For me, goaltending, they should acquire a veteran American Hockey League goalie so that they could take the load off Villalta. And if there's an injury with Vejmelka and Ingram, you take that veteran goalie first, like a Malcolm Subban type goalie, instead of Villalta, so you don't rush the development of Villalta. Like an American League veteran like Tokarski. That's all that's coming to my mind right now. Maybe Phoenix Copley type goaltender. So that's it for me. Thank you for watching. If you like, receive, spread the word. And as always, thank you for your support.